Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the YouTube channel grecochess, the channel where we discuss, we analyze, we comment, and we talk about all aspects of the game of chess. I'm your host, my name is Harilos Eniziris, and in this video, we are going to face the next bot in the series. But let's first share the screen and see what is happening. As you see in the series, there are tons of bots of chess.com to play against. We started with a beginner many months ago and we defeated all of them very easily, twice, each of them once with white and once with black. We continued to the intermediate and the first lane, no problem at all, but when we reached the second line with Emir, we defeated the white, but with the black we needed 3 attempts. We had some other issues once in a while, but eventually we were able to win all the second line, including Jade, the last one, each of them twice, once with white and once with black. And now we continue with the three strongest of the intermediate that have rating of 1400. And the first of them is David from Peru. And we're going in this video to face David with the white pieces. Let's see what we can do. We want to defeat each bot twice, once with white and once with black. Ideally on the first attempt, but we'll continue until we are able to do it. And they become stronger and stronger, soon they are reaching my rating. And let's see what's going to happen with David, who is telling us, hola, come at me. Oh, yep, we start with the pawn going to e4, David. E4 gives me a lot of chances for active pieces. I smell an attack coming. Ooh, what is that, f6? I wouldn't recommend it. The f1, you open the diagonal. I would say better not touch it unless you have to. Pawn to d4. We have 2 pawns in the center. Pawn to b6 for David that wants to have a fianchetto, place his bishop on b7. That's why we are protecting our pawn on e4 with the knight going to c3 and also develop the knight. Pawn to e5. If queen goes to h5 check, are things going to look good? Not yet, because pawn goes to g6 and no follow-up. But let's take first a pawn on e5. Oh, this exchange gives me more room for piece activity. What exchange? I'm going to get the second pawn in a row. Or should I? What if I put my queen on d5? I'm attacking the rook on a8, but then pawn goes to c6. I have to defend myself. No, but let's first take the next pawn on f6. Take it with the knights. How will we continue developing? You're attacking the pawn on on e4. Let's first put a knight on f3 to continue developing. Bishop to b7, attacking my pawn on e4 twice, once knight f6 and once bishop b7. Now there is a little catch if they take it, but this is only after I cast, not yet. Let's put the bishop on d3 to protect the pawn twice. Bishop to b4. What's happening is that this is pinning my knight, and even if I unpin by castling, for example, after the exchange, they have 2 powers on e4, meaning the bishop b7 and the knight f6, and I only defend it with my bishop on d3. But I'm going to do something else tricky. Let's hope it works. I'm going to do a short castle, a kingside castle. Will you exchange on b4? Yep. Will you take on e4? Not yet. They smell the rats. If I push my pawn on e5, let's first, can we pin the knight? Yep, bishop to f5. Then I attack it to the pawn. Yep. Now let's see. Here is a catch. If I send it here, takes, and queen takes here. What if I push my pawn on e5? Bishop takes. I don't like that. If my queen goes to e2, Yes, now this is not going to work. I win the bishop for a pawn. Here's what's happening. If I exchange queens, he's going to be a pawn up. If I take the knight, he's taking my queen. You see, things are not so easy as I was hoping. And if we exchange queens, knight attacks both bishop on g5 and pawn on c3. Don't like that. What can I do? What if I put my rook on e1? Let's put rook on e1. Change queens. Uh, Bishop goes on d5, threatens pawn on c3. What am I supposed to do now? I wish I could save this pawn. The only way to save it is, what if I push to c4? Attacking the pawns. What I want to do now is I want to double my rooks on the e file. Open e file. Material the same. If I place, let's attack the pawn on c7. No, I can't because the rook would take it. I really need to be very, very careful. I can place my rook on e7, yes, but how can I attack the d7 pawn then? Let's attack the knight on b4, so at least I don't lose my a3 pawn. Knight goes to c6. If I attack the rook with my bishop, the rook on f8, there's a so what? Bishop is not needed. Let's put it to h4 so I can later can put it to g3. Give me a free pawn. Is it really so free as it looks like? The d5 pawn. At least I double my pawns. And they attack the knight. Where can the knight go? Don't think anywhere safe. Dang, you're strong. I could take the knight on d8 with my bishop. Once again, there is a so what. If my rook goes on e7, attack the pawn on c7. And the pawn on d5 is great because it blocks two squares where the knight could go, c6 and e6. So let me put my pawn on e7, and we're going for the c7 pawn. But first of all, unfortunately, my bishop is threatened. Let's move it to a g3. And then it's also attacking, we're attacking twice this pawn. I'm not going to take the c6 because the knight takes it. I want to push my pawn. If I put my bishop on e5, rook can go to g7 the check. What I want to do is I want to, I have a free pawn. Forget about the c6. I have a nice free pawn on g5, and this is even better because it really is near the black king. You take it, good. We are going now to e5 and threaten a knight check from g7. The rook cannot go to f7 to stop it because of my knight. I found another way to stop it. With your knight. And you're also attacking my bishop. If I put my knight on e6, I'm threatening the rook on f8. I think that's a good idea, yes. You're also threatening my rook. I want to threaten your knight, c6. Yes, I win. So not so much as I was hoping. Yeah, because I got a rook for two pieces, and these two knights are crazy. I better be very, very careful with them. And they cover too many squares. Oh, if I put my pawn on f4, then my knight can go to e7. I threaten your knight on f7. Nice, nothing's become better. I'm going to h7, and I can even threaten with a mate if you're not careful. Now, let's see how things are going. If the knight was not at g8, then rook goes to h8 is mate. Anything unprotected that I can take. It seems that the d5 pawn is unprotected. How can you protect it? If you decide with your knight going to f6, rook goes to h8, and you'll have a very, very difficult time. Let's see if I can attack this pawn. I got it, but if your rook goes to f6, you attack, excuse me, your knight goes to f6, you attack both of my rooks, but one can go to h8. Will you do it? Yes, but I have checks. No, I cannot go here, but I can go to h8 check. If I take your rook, you take my rook. Anyway, I can do a check and avoid this bad situation because I cannot leave my rook here. If I leave it, I lose a rook. So let's exchange rooks. Let's save this pawn here. It's not an easy ending because what's happening is the two knights are very, very tricky beasts. They can check when you least expect it and do forks and all kind of crazy things. Let's see if I can promote my pawns. I have connected past pawns, but they're still in f4 and g3, too early. Let's pin your knight now. How can you save it? No, you can't. Good. That is really rook versus knight. Versus two knights was very difficult, but versus one knight. And now I'm going to win the other pawn on b6. Got it. And I don't think you have a fork. You may take my pawn on c2. Oh, let me win the last a pawn because I don't want suddenly having a pawn promoted. Good. Now David is left only with the knight on c3, which I'm attacking now. So long as there is no fork, and yes, king is dark square, rook is in light square, that's why I'm not in danger of any sudden. Now it could be, but there's no square that the knight could fork rook and king, even if David could place his knight anywhere he liked. Because yes, they are both dark squares, but they are in the same diagonal with one square between them. So let's see how far can we push the g pawn. If we can promote it, I think we can. Now we're going to win the knight. Yes. And now just be careful, no stalemate. Is your pieces more active than mine? Yes, they were. So one more move. And that's it. We defeated David with the white pieces. Bam, a good game. Can we have a rematch? In the next video, you'll have the white and I'll have the black. Let's see the review now. You see that I was up and down, but in the end I was only up. 78.9 versus 71.5. I played as if my rating was 1750 and David as if it was 1200. No brilliance, 2 versus 1 for the grades, 1 book move for me. Best, I have 26 to versus 21. Excellent. David 11 versus 6. Good, I have 9 versus 5. Inaccuracies, 8 for David, 4 for me. Mistakes, 2 for David, 1 for me. 3 misses for me, 1 for David, and 1 blunder for me and 3 for David. And let's see what exactly happened. This is, of course, mistake, as I had mentioned. This is the grades. Knight to c3, yes, the best. Doesn't like it. The computer doesn't like it. Because I wanted to, after we exchange on e5, to put my queen on h5, and if pawn goes to d6, I take on e5 the check and win the rook on h8. Another mistake. Good, I take it. Yes, until now, things go nice. Is to 3, yes. Computer wants me to push the pawn to e5. Yes, the knight will leave, and then what will happen to my pawn? Yes. Computer once again wants me to push my pawn to e5, but there's a so what? Doesn't like my queen to e2. Yeah, but if I put it to e5, let me explain what was in my mind. I'm not sure if it worked. If I put it to e5, then David, instead of directly of dealing with the pin, he just uses bishop on b7, take on f3. And my queen is attacked. If I take back with my queen, David's queen goes to e5 and wins a pawn. That's why I didn't do it. I don't know if there is any other way to deal with that. Mistake wants me to take first. My bishop takes a knight. Wants my queen to go to b5, perhaps. Yes, until now it's good or excellent, or even the best. Doesn't like my bishop to h4, wants my pawn to go to h3, maybe not to have any back ranks. Yes, that is a blunder, and I win the pawn. I was very suspicious if there's anything behind that. Good, what would I want to have my bishop, but then if the rook goes to e8, there's a so what? Wants my knight to win the pawn, perhaps. This is a blunder. No, this is a miss. Wait a minute. Yes, but if I would take the knight, then the rook, let's say again, I take the knight, then rook takes the knight. And of course, I don't want to exchange the rooks. If the rook goes to e8 check, rook goes to f8. Maybe there's a pin on b8 that could have taken advantage, but in any case, that is a miss. Blunder. The computer wants me directly to take on f8. I left my bishop hanging. Okay. Yes, that's what happened. And you see here, after this blunder, I'm almost the same, 0.3 ahead. This is a blunder, yes. Great move. Yes, I'm threatening with mate. Yes, a very good move for David to defend. Wants me to place my rook on f7 check. Then king goes to e8. And so what? Cannot check from e7. Not sure what exactly would they win. Takes a pawn, but mm, doesn't like it. It's a great yes, and it's a fork of two rooks. But fortunately, I knew it. I have checks that can put my rooks out of trouble. Yes. Inaccuracy. The computer wants me to take the pawn. Yes, I would win an extra pawn because yes, would exchange rooks, but at least I would have one extra pawn. This is a chance to repair my pawn. Now this is a blunder, of course, with the pin. Yes, I win one after the other. He didn't like my wants my rook to go to c3 to attack the knight again. Yeah. I win the knight, and now it is over. So we defeated David with the white pieces. Next video, assuming nothing unexpected comes on our way, we are going to play, and David will have the white, and I'm going to have the black pieces. Thanks everybody for watching, and the tournament's nothing new is happening. Let's give a look at the grecochess. 2 games to go. The same 2 games between Maxim Govorukha from the Ukraine and Barak Seven from Israel. These games will decide which of them is going to be the grecochess champion. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Thanks to the viewers, subscribers, the likes and the comments. If you have not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. All you need to do is click the subscribe button, so you'll be notified of the videos and we'll have lots of fun together. I'm Harila Sanaziris. This is the Greco Chess YouTube channel. And for now, goodbye.